Hello. It is a lovely, sunshiny, but windy day here in central Ohio, and I'm working some more on my raised bed garden, my new one that I'm building this year. So I'm not sure which part this is. I'll put it in the title. But today I'm working on putting the fencing all around. I don't know if I'll get all of it done. I'm going to definitely need a second pair of hands for some of the longer pieces, but let me show you basically the process that I'm using here. So I purchased, and I can't remember if I mentioned this in a previous video, my garden that I did last year, which looks like this, is the basic model that I used for the new garden. But you can see this one I used chicken wire, and it was such a pain to work with. But essentially I built the structure and then I stapled this all the way around, and it has worked well enough to protect so far the things that I've been growing in the garden here from last year. So this year, let me show you how I'm trying a couple improvements. So since the chicken wire was such a pain to work with, I went and did some research on Google as well as in gardening groups that I'm a member of on Facebook. And actually I joined a couple raised bed gardening groups. And I think it was in one of those that somebody posted about a garden that they had built, and they had some wire that they used for their fencing that was coated, and it was coated in like a black vinyl or something. And it made it where you really don't, your eye doesn't see it. And so since this new garden is going right by an area where I've been trying to develop kind of a cottage garden, like, you know, just a lovely, peaceful, full of flowers type kind of space, I liked the idea of the wire being more see-through or more less visually present. So I asked the person who posted about it, well, how was it to work with? And they said, oh, it was very, very easy to work with. So I did some researching, and it's called critter fence. And if you Google critter fencing, it should come up. They make a couple different variations. They have one variation that they call deer fencing. I'm not sure what the third option was called, but I think I got an option that was just called critter fencing. It is a black, I think it's 1-inch squares. It is way more easy to work with than the chicken wire. It kind of holds its shape a little better, but it's not super heavy or awkward. It does bend, but sorry, sniffles, it's Ohio. And but it holds the squares a little better when you're, getting it straight, and it's just so far been much simpler to work with, but it still cuts really easily with just, like a simple plier wire cutter type kind of situation here. I don't even know what this is called. I got it from my local Ace. I think it's some kind of wire cutters, I don't know. Anyways, so I'm just snipping and I'm making panels. I'm using essentially a 1x6 board that is pressure treated to try to hopefully make them last longer. But when I went looking to just see, there were 1x6s at my local big box stores, but they also had these things that were like 5/4 boards. They're decking boards, and I guess decks tend to be 6-inch wide boards, but 5/4 means that's how thick the boards are when they are milled. Well, wood shrinks when it dries, so when it dries to an actual inch or really, really close to it, whereas boards that say that they're like a 1x2, since I happen to have one sitting right here. So this is a 1x2, but it is not 1 inch thick, and it's not really 2 inches wide. It's a little less, because that's probably what it was when it was milled, and it shrinks. So I kind of liked the idea of the decking boards being slightly thicker for this fencing part of the project, and they were a little cheaper. So anyways, the next thing I'm going to do is hang these up, and I'll show you what that looks like once I get a few of them up. All right, so we've got the first big panel basically up. You can see that I've got the decking board that's 6-inch wide right down here at the bottom, also up here at the top. I've screwed it into a 2x2 that I have here, and then on the corners are the 2x4. I very intentionally put them this way on these ends to try to minimize waste on my boards. So the 10-inch boards, the 2x10s, come, the most economical option per square foot or per foot is the 8-foot length. So by cutting the 8-foot length into 3 equal pieces that are around 32 inches a piece, by putting the 2x4 this way, that gives me a couple more inches on my bed and gets me closer to about a 36-inch, 34-inch wide bed. And that's about as deep as I'm going to be able to manage leaning over. I originally contemplated with this wire here creating kind of a panel that I could lift up. I could still potentially do that even once this is up here. I don't know if I will or not. I may just have to manage the leaning over when I'm planting closer to the edge here of the bed. If it gets to be too big of a strain on my back, then my plan is going to be to cut right down here, and then what I would do is staple, kind of like this, a 1x2 with the mesh. This is, you can see where I originally have mesh between some 1x2s, and then I realized I was going to also have to put side pieces, and I just decided it was just too much for now. But I could easily do this later if I wanted to. Cut along the bottom here, staple that bottom edge to a 1x2, put a 1x2 on either side. I'm going to add a 1x2 about halfway up, kind of right here, just to stabilize this against everything, because I do plan to let things trellis up the sides of the fencing, like cucumbers and things like that, squash on that one bed over there. And I just think that that would be something I could easily add up, like a panel that lifts up, and tend to plant things here along the edge. If it ends up really only being, a little bit of a strain when I'm planting, then I don't know that it's going to be worth making those panels, which is why I sort of gave up on the idea for now. But anyways, I'm going to put probably a 1x2 or maybe a 2x4 here kind of across the middle, just for some extra strength. And then the other piece, the other panel will come along here and match up. And then where things overlap, I am probably going to put another either 1x4 or something over the top, just to keep that from being something where critters can kind of crawl under, or squirrels, that have very persistent ways of getting into things from the sides. Although the squirrels right now, because I'm not putting a roof on this, could just climb up and over. So regardless, I am going to probably put something over this, even if it's just to make it look nicer. So I will show you all that once we get all of the panels up. Not sure if we'll get it all done today, but I'm going to work on it, and hopefully we'll see you in a little while. If you have to build stuff by yourself, quick couple of suggestions of how I've tried to do things when I don't have a second pair of hands. So I'm putting on the last panel of fencing for the end here of a bed. What I have done is I have pre-stapled at the bottom and on the top board, and I have also started a screw at either end on both of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of lightly screw in the bottom board a little higher then I know it's going to go, so that I'm not trying to hold the weight of that board while I'm up on the ladder. And then I'm going to climb on the ladder holding on to this, and I'll hold it up there at the top and screw in one side. Then I'm going to have my level in my handy dandy one of the many pockets on my Duluth work pants, and then I'll hold the level up the other side, screw it in, and then I can finish by putting at the top by putting 2 screws on either side, and then come down here to the bottom, unscrew where I just kind of tacked it. And then what I'm doing to try to get the fencing as tight as possible is I'm pushing down like this on the bottom board as I'm screwing in the screws on the bottom, and that's getting this fairly tight. And then what I probably will do once I get the doors made, because my next priority is to make the doors, and I'm going to just go ahead and make 4 doors instead of trying to close up part of the openings, is I'm probably going to come back and add some kind of either a 2x2, probably a 1x2 or 1x4 on the corner posts, just to seal that down. I don't know, I might just get a really long extension cord and bring my air compressor and staple gun that's with the compressor and do that. And then I think I'm going to put a 1x2 kind of just right across here just to kind of help stabilize. So I'll give you a look once it's all done. I'm done for today, so I'm going to end this update here. Plus it's kind of windy. I'm going to keep this last bit short. Everything is as buttoned up as I can get it for now. I just need doors at each opening and some gravel for the pathways. So thanks for joining me here today in Aunt Susan's garden.